We've been discussing the presidency of Woodrow Wilson, and you can't really talk about Woodrow Wilson without talking about the biggest thing that happened on his watch, World War I, also known as the Great War. Obviously, they didn't call it World War I at the time. They didn't know there was going to be a second one. Here's a map that shows the various countries that were involved in World War I, and as you can see, it clearly is global. The countries in green are the Allied countries. The countries in the goldish color are the Central Powers. The Central Powers were comprised of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in Germany, the Ottoman Empire, today known as Turkey. And you can see several little countries down here in Africa, and you might wonder just how involved Africa was and why various African countries would take sides. Well, to answer the first part of the question, there was quite a bit of fighting that took place in Africa, especially North Africa, but down in the sub-Saharan area as well. If you've ever seen the movie or heard of it, The African Queen with Humphrey Bogart. It takes place during World War I with some British citizens in Africa. Bogey's supposed to be Canadian. So far as why the African countries would be divided up and involved in the war, well, at the time, other than the small number of countries that are in gray, which were independent, all the other countries were colonies of one European power or another. Therefore, if Germany takes one side, then clearly its colonies are going to take that side as well. Zooming in a little bit on the Austro-Hungarian Empire, you can see that that empire encompasses a large area there in Central Europe and involves a lot of different groups of people, primarily, not surprisingly, Austria and Hungary. If you are familiar with the country of Hungary, you might know that the language they speak there is Hungarian. In Austria, they don't speak Austrian. There's no such thing. Austria is a country that has they speak German. The actual official name of the country that they call themselves is Österreich, which means Eastern Kingdom in German. So there alone you can see that there is quite a bit of diversity in this empire. The two main countries not only speak two different languages, but Hungarian is not even that closely related to German. Hungarian is a Slavic language, and German, surprisingly, is a Germanic language. But as you look around the map, you see other areas as well, like Bohemia. Bohemia, otherwise known as, later would be known as Czechoslovakia. Bohemians are Czechs, really. And these various other groups, even Transylvania over there next to Romania. But here in the south is what is most pertinent to the beginning of the war. In the south, in this whole big area here that would later be known as Yugoslavia, at this point it is not, it's part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, you've got Croatia, you've got Slavonia, you've got Bosnia and Herzegovina. Just east of Bosnia you have Serbia that is not part of the empire. Serbia is an independent kingdom, but a large number of Serbs live over to the west of the river in Bosnia. There was a movement by a lot of Serbian nationalists to be able to have these Serbs in Bosnia be able to either join up with Serbia or have their own independent country. There were other independence movements within this group in the Baltic as well. And that all sort of came to a head, that agitation, that pushback against the Austro-Hungarian Empire in the summer of 1914, when Franz Ferdinand, I'm not sure how well you can see this picture, but there's good old Franz there. He was the heir to the throne, Archduke at the time, in the city of Sarajevo, which was in Bosnia. Visiting there with his wife, was attacked by Serbian nationalists and assassinated. Well, clearly that was a bad day for him. However, I don't really think you could say that was the cause of the war. but it was the spark that set everything off. The cause for the war is kind of complex. There had been, over the previous couple of decades, an ever more complicated web of alliances between these various European countries. So, to go back to the map there, when a Serbian national killed the heir to the throne, Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia. Russia had an alliance with Serbia, so Russia declared war on Austria-Hungary. Germany had an alliance with Austria-Hungary, so Germany declared war on Russia. France had an alliance with Russia, so France declared war on Germany. The Ottoman Empire had an alliance with Germany, so they declared war on France. Britain had an alliance with France, so they declared, and just on and on and on. It was all a very convoluted thing that made the whole situation sort of collapse like a house of cards. Domino effect. Within a short time, everyone gets pulled into this conflict. Initially, the Central Powers surged westward through Belgium and into France, but very quickly they were met with opposition from the Allied powers pushing back from the other way. That led to this long line, the Western Front, that again was an extension from where the boundaries had previously been. That's where the advance stopped, and there was pretty much a stalemate there for years. The initial part of the war saw huge battles involving hundreds of thousands of people, with an enormous amount of people being killed in a very quick time. Then, after that, this long stalemate in which this front, this line, would get budged over a little bit this way, and then a week or two later get budged over a little that way, with no one really being able to get the upper hand, and there things stood for quite some time. Meanwhile,